Well, I'm back tuning into today's video. We're going to do an 8 to 10 day update today, which will take us towards the middle of April, actually, taking us towards the middle of the month and towards the Easter period as well. So we'll have a look at the charts for the next week to 10 days in a moment. Now, before I go on the video, just to mention the advertising, there's video ads on my pages at GazWellBiz.com. If you press play on video ad, you'll be supporting GazWellBiz.com. Thanks very much for doing that. Also got the content ads, which are links to articles. Just click through the link of any article that you're interested in. You'll be able to go off and read that article. And at the same time, GazWellBiz will get a royalty fee on what you're doing. Thanks very much for doing that. So I'm going to start off with the 500 millibar height anomaly flowcharts. I haven't used these for a little while in the videos, but we'll have a look at them today. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere where we've got weather going on, high pressure, low pressure, really developing in that part of the atmosphere, and it's just the jet stream moves those air masses around. But essentially that's what weather is, the movement of air by the jet stream. So these are the mean flow charts for 8 to 10 days time, which will be taking us from, let's say, the 15th to the 17th of April, so going up towards that Easter period. And the red colours, of course, indicating where we've got above average heights, that's above average temperature, that extrapolates to high pressure. The blue colours are below average temperatures at 18,000 feet, that extrapolates to low pressure. The lines are between the red and the blue are the jet stream. So we've got quite a strong jet stream here coming across the Atlantic on the ECMWF. This is the ECM, by the way. The GFS is over here on the right as you're looking at it. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But we've got quite a strong jet stream there coming across the Atlantic for 8 to 10 days time, and it is digging down a little bit on the ECMWF, so that's quite an unsettled sort of scenario. We've got low pressure sitting just to the north and northwest, quite a deep trough of low pressure. We've got this big area of high pressure in the central part of the Atlantic, but the jet stream is very strong there coming across the Atlantic, and it is quite unsettled with this trough sending some energy down across the country. Have a look at the charts of that in a few moments, but the ECMWF certainly looking quite unsettled this morning. Now the GFS is a little bit different. We've still got a strong jet stream coming across the Atlantic here. Yeah, but lines are tightly packed moving through the Atlantic, but this area of high pressure is much further northwards and eastwards, so actually the trough is being pushed further north. So this is a more settled scenario for the middle of April from the GFS this morning. The high pressure is more influential there, ridging in across the country. It's still a little bit unsettled up to the north and the northwest, but that area of above average heights on the GFS definitely ridging in more than we see on the ECMWF. On the ECMWF, the high pressure is pushed back into the Atlantic, allowing this energy from the trough to the north of Scotland to move down across the country. I'll have a look at the difference between the GFS and the ECMWF in the generic charts in a moment. Now for the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles, we can see with temperatures first of all, the red line here where we should be. We can see we're going to be generally a little bit above average over the next week or so. Not drastically above average. It's going to be cooler than we've been experiencing through the first week of April when it got very, very warm, well above average. Not going to be as above average as that, but generally we're still keeping things on the positive side of the red line, or we're going above the red line, which indicates that, yeah, temperatures are going to be a little bit above where they should be until we get to around the 17th, 18th. Now we've got a huge amount of scatter there, a lot of members going cold, below average, a lot of members keeping temperatures above average, so a lot of scatter as we get through to the second half of April. Quite what's happening there, I'm not sure, but I think it's really determined by the positioning of that trough to the north of Scotland and the ridge in the Atlantic. If the ridge pulls out, as we see on the ECMWF, it's going to allow that trough to send energy down, and that will be cooler or even colder air coming down across the country with that trough of low pressure. But if the ridge stays strong, as this one of GFS is showing, then we're likely to keep it quite warm above average. It's going to be dry for the coming period as well. A lot of dry weather here and hardly any precipitation spikes till we get through to around the 16th, 17th, and then we do get some spikes coming back, but even then, not really coming back with conviction. So if the GFS is right, we're looking at quite a prolonged sort of dry spell. The temperature anomaly is taking us from the 8th to the 16th of April, show that we're round average, a little bit above across England and Wales, possibly a little bit below for Scotland, but not deviating too far from where we should be at this time of year. Precipitation anomalies, though, well below average. All parts away from the far northwest of Scotland are below average, with precipitation anomalies for the 8th to 16th of April. And even in the north and west of Scotland, we're only in the White Coast, so that's just average rainfall there, but a very dry week coming up, if that's right. So here's the GFS for Monday. Going to start on Monday the 14th of April. I've got low pressure to the north of Scotland, but high pressure just out across the country, just out to the west of the country. That could bring a little bit of unsettled weather to Scotland, perhaps. That low pressure will push off into Scandinavia on Tuesday the 15th. This high pressure ridges back in, and then really it's high pressure all the way for England and Wales, although always a little bit more unsettled for Scotland and Northern Ireland. But this ridge of high pressure is continuing to push in across England and Wales, keeping it largely settled. As we get through to day 10, which is Friday the 18th, and that's Good Friday, by the way. Yeah, the high pressure is building back in strongly there for Good Friday, so a very dry start to the Easter weekend, if that's right. By the way, we'll be doing an Easter update on the events page this evening when we get the midday run of the GFS. We'll have a look at the full Easter weekend this evening on the events page. Now, the ECMWF, you would suspect, is going to be more unsettled based on that 500 mm high anomaly flow chart. Here's how we start next week, Monday the 14th, with high pressure ridging in very nicely. The high pressure is still there on Tuesday the 15th. But on Wednesday the 16th, there's the high pulling out into the mid-Atlantic, as we saw on that 500 mm flow chart. We're starting to bring energy down from the north, so turning more unsettled midweek next week. And we end up very unsettled as we get through to Friday the 18th, Good Friday. That high pressure pulling well out into the Atlantic and going up towards Newfoundland, allowing this trough to dig southwards. A lot of energy coming down with that, so there'll be showers along with spells of rain. And you follow the isobars back, they originate from quite a long way north, so that's quite cold air digging in around that trough of low pressure as well. Could be cold enough to turn the showers a little bit wintry over Scotland. Finally, have a quick look at the GEM, see what that's showing. The Canadian high pressure, very dominant as we start next week, Monday the 14th. Still there on Tuesday the 15th. Still there on Wednesday the 16th. But as we get through to Thursday the 17th, just signs that the low pressure is deepening around Iceland again. We're pulling that high pressure out into the Atlantic, going off towards Newfoundland. So by the time we get through to Good Friday, Friday the 18th, the low pressure is quite dominant actually to the south of Iceland. It's not as bad as the ECMWF. It's not sort of cold with that, and it's not very unsettled, but it is more unsettled on the GM. We're bringing a trough of low pressure through, and yeah, there'll be showers along with spells of rain at the very least for the start of the Easter weekend. And that's sort of like a blend really between the GFS and the ECMWF. The GFS and the ECM are sort of extreme ends of each other today for the Easter weekend. So that's a blend of the two, and perhaps that's the most likely scenario. Usually when the GFS and the ECMWF are disagreeing like this, you finish up getting the blend of the two, and the blend of the two today is certainly the GM. So I think we're looking at a lot of dry weather to start next week. Quite where we go from the middle of next week towards the Easter weekend, hard to say. It will probably turn more unsettled, I would suspect. How bad it gets, if it's probably won't be as bad as the ECMWF, but how bad it gets, I'm not sure. We'll have a full look at the Easter weekend this evening on the events page with the midday run of the GFS. See whether the GFS is keeping this settled scenario going through to Easter, or whether it begins to revert to a more unsettled output. So come back to that this evening. It'll probably be around 7 o'clock on the events page. And that's all for now. 5-day forecast tomorrow, so come back to that. But that's all for now. Thanks for watching.